the Ocean Explorium has done an outstanding job in really helping to get kids to understand and see what it is like to be a real scientist. And I really honestly can't say enough about it.
I definitely see hermit crabs. Yes, definitely. Me too.
Along with the children come parents, and in some cases grandparents. And so that educational level goes all the way up. I couldn't think of a better bang for the buck education-wise.
I guess I think of opening eyes. I think of it as here we are in an environment right on the water. The Ocean Explorium gives everyone a chance to dig into that deeper.
Just put it under the water.
Move your hand. That's it. Move your hand there.
I've learned that if you touch animals properly, the animals won't be as scared. And I've learned that you have to keep the environment healthy, so you should recycle every single day and recycle as most as you can.
It's just a place of tolerance and acceptance, as well as education, where people of all abilities can come and get something out of it. Whether you're here to visit, whether you're here to volunteer, whether you're here to work. It's a place for everyone.
Look inside the egg. You see the yolk, it's a little round ball, and you can see the little baby.
When I saw the place and I saw what the teachers were doing and what was going on here, this is like, I want to be here. This is the place I really, really, really want to be.
I came because I had one of my teachers at high school. She came here and saw a couple of the presentations, and she came up to me the next day and she's like, Amanda, this place is for you.
It was all hands-on, all doing science, not just hearing about it and, oh yeah, ho hum.
I looked through microscopes, and it was really fun.
I've never worked with kids before, so it was a whole new experience. Then having, a brand new experience of working with kids, and then combining that with my love for marine science and seeing how excited that they get talking about anything, it made me want to be a part of it.
What I remember most is touching animals and doing the arts and crafts.
And it was all working with water, actually taking the water droplets and working with them and seeing how cohesion works and seeing how adhesion works. It was all wonderful, exactly what I wanted to do.
Well, first of all, of course, I was very impressed by the building. I thought it was fantastic reuse of a beautiful structure. And the kids, of course, were drawn immediately to the seahorses in the tank. They hardly moved from that spot. And meanwhile, my eyes were just wandering as wide as I could go to figure out where the sphere was.
Here we can see the Indian Ocean tsunami spreading out from the epicenter and making its way across the Indian Ocean.
This was something called science on a spear. And so this grabbed me right away.
And you can see that after 36 hours following the earthquake that created the tsunami, that it has reached the east and the west coast of the USA.
Which was, sort of mind-blowing, because this took me anywhere from a small tidal pond to the universe.
It's a binary star.
Showing, in essence, the universe's baby.
It's shutting that is the shark's spiracle. It's actually taking water in through its spiracle and pumping it out through its gills, and that is how it extracts oxygen.
And it was all about animals, all about preserving and balance of nature and respect for nature.
It needs to be at the top. You want to be touching the top
A lot of times what happens when students are in a classroom where someone's just lecturing to them, they walk away and the teacher thinks they've maintained it, and the next day they ask them the same kind of questions, it's gone. Whereas when all of a sudden I've had a chance to touch it, feel it, interact with it in some way, I have all these files that I can file it in, and I tend to remember it more.
A lot of the schools, unfortunately, don't do hands-on science. They do read from a book, which is not science. To me, science is you're doing, you're acting, you're doing something with the activities. And this is all about that, all about acting.
Tiny baby.
A baby what?
There's a baby shell in here somewhere.
And just remember, we only keep them out of the water for a little time.
And put him again. I think he wants to get back in the water though.
I love getting that little kid that comes in and he doesn't want to touch anything, but when you put like a cow nose right in front of him, he's so fascinated. He thinks they're so cute, and he actually will put his hand in and touch it. And then he'll be so excited that he touched something that he'll go over to the other Rocky Shore touch tank and he'll want to touch everything.
What's this over here? Everyone's behind I felt kind of nervous at the first point, but then I got used to it. I've touched about 8 sharks. 23 rays from today. Holding sea stars. I like touching the animals. I like looking at the habitat that they like the plants, like the anemones that they like living in. That's the rays and sharks. It felt kind of bumpy. It feels slimy. The rays feel like nice and soft if you go down their thing. You shouldn't touch the eyes, underneath them, or their tail. But if the tail accidentally does touch you, that's okay. But try not to. And then on the sharks, it really feels really, really rough. What's this thing? It buried itself, Mama.
What is that one?
Keep humming, it's really cool. We come out.
When I've got a petri dish and I'm watching something grow versus just talking about it and reading about it, all of a sudden it starts making more sense to me.
If they're playing with the water molecules, if they see the Big Bang Theory with a balloon that blows up and there's confetti in it and it goes all over the place, that's exciting. That gets everybody's attention, and it's like, whoa, this is cool. Even the macho kids who, really aren't into science suddenly become scientists.
It's just like a kid who reads about riding a bike. If you read about riding a bike, it's very different than actually getting on the bike and pedaling it.
I mean, it only takes a couple minutes for you to see that this is sort of science, in real time and visceral. So real time means you can ask questions, and so you hear something and you can immediately bounce back. So that's education as I see it.
So you have your Marianas Trench right in here. So that's a large subduction.
The students are always in awe, first of all, of the sphere. The sphere is this floating globe in the middle of a darkened room. So I compare it to a theater, but only it's a theater in a circle, and the circle can move, and they can see. There's no bad seat in the house because everybody gets to see what's going on.
Ocean surface temperature.
I just think it's an incredible, unique viewing experience. I think so rarely do kids or adults get the chance to envision that the Earth as a sphere or the planets or however you want to change it. I just think the rotation, everything that it encompasses is new for anyone of any age.
I think it's nice because you get to see the world properly. Instead of just a flat surface, you get to see it round, and you can see the sun, all the moons, you can see all the planets up close, you can see the sun, and it won't be hot at all. And it's really, really fun to see this that because it's like you can see what the world really is. It's not a flat surface, it's a round ball.
circular gyres of water.
To be able to see that in a three-dimensional way and connect what you understand about the Earth with new knowledge, I think is just, there's nothing like it. There's no other way to duplicate that.
So the concept of the world is heating up, to me, I'm only thinking from my small microcosm. So I'm thinking, that doesn't really affect me too much because it's happening in areas where I don't live. But then when you're looking at the globe and all of a sudden you're seeing it slowly itch up to where you live, maybe I really do need to be thinking about that.
Our land has increased by almost 10 degrees Celsius.
And he came here on an 8th grade field trip, and he had a wonderful science teacher, Miss Beausoleil, who brought them here, and he was right on. The educators were doing their thing, and Zachary was answering all the questions, and just all the information, he knew it already. And so this was the place for him, we just knew, so.
Sixth, seventh, and 8th grade. I got constantly bullied every day.
So it takes them about 4 hours to eat. So after that 4 hours, the muscle just opens up just enough so that the sea star will spit its stomach out of the mouth right here and digest it from the inside.
Zachary is on the autism spectrum. He has what they call nonverbal learning disability.
So they have 5 eyes unless they lose a leg. But they can grow them back.
As many people are hearing nowadays, the statistics are like 1 in 70 boys. So eventually, we're going to have a whole lot of people entering the job market who, in traditional schooling, their needs aren't being met very well.
Sometimes I got physically ill from stress. It was scary.
A lot of anxiety, stress, depression. He started taking antidepressant, all the typical stories that you hear. It was just playing out before our eyes.
Oftentimes what can happen is the cognitive levels are not necessarily different than the other students in the building. In other words, they have the same intellect, but the way in which they process is different. So what has to happen for a special needs student is they may have to interact with something in a different way.
When it's all digested, it'll suck his stomach back into him.
Wow, that's
and I'll just leave the shell like this.
I don't really learn in school compared to the outside world very much.
This is a hermit crab.
That's a big crab.
Kill him.
Because I think there's a misnomer with special needs students that they're limited. They're not limited. They just learn differently. And so we have to find a way in which to allow them to learn the way they learn best. And not everyone learns through just listening and hearing. And so we've got to provide other ways to do that. And the Ocean Explorium has done an outstanding job in that area.
So he needed to learn skills, societal skills, cooperation and communication skills and collaboration skills and these types of things that are difficult for people on the spectrum. And here at the Explorium, he's able to do all those things.
A sea star could kill off an oyster bed or a scallop or just a group of scallops in a matter of days.
I just remember I loved it. I loved going into the sphere. We spent some time at the touch tank. I love that.
So when a scalloper caught a sea star, they would cut it in half and then throw it back in. And when they threw it back in, they doubled the population due to sea stars regenerating their legs and the rest of their body.
It's just such a relief to know that there's a place out there where he can be and where he can be accepted. Because every child, every parent is, what's my child going to become? And then all of a sudden, when you're faced with something like this, you see their limitations all of a sudden, where it's supposed to be limitless for your child. And then all of a sudden, your child has certain limitations. But he's come here and he has surprised me. So I have to rethink his limitations, because he's not as limited as I came to believe that he would be. So, but that's the people here that he's working with. So.
I sort of know that the money that you invest sort of pays off on an hourly, daily, weekly, because if we just reach several children that come here and say, you know, science is important, oceanography is important, you know, that's so meaningful that they can now see, connect with something where their future might be here.
I actually had a girl the other day that came up to the touch tank and she's like, I want to study marine biology when I'm in college. And I said, awesome, how old are you? And she's like, I'm 13. And I was like, you're me, like 7 years ago. And then, I don't know, I kind of took it as like my little project for the day, and I taught her everything I knew about each one of the tanks, and she was so happy. And by the time she left, she knew so much, and she was just like, wow, I really want to do this. And that's the same way I felt when, you know, actually I think about that just about every day that I come to the Ocean Explorium. And I leave and I'm like, wow, this really is what I want to do.
These particular sharks are white-spotted bamboo, and they prefer to swim at the bottom. So their fins on their bottoms are much smaller than their fins on the top.
I'm already seeing some of the effects that are happening with the Ocean Explorium and some of the changes in lifestyle kids are even making in regards to that. This year at Roosevelt, our students actually did a cleanup in our local area. And while they were walking around, they were talking about, I was here at the Ocean Explorium. I've seen what can happen when we don't take care of our own environment.
If you teach the kids how to protect marine life and they'll start to care about it, especially if they're holding it in their own hands, then they definitely pass that on to one another.
The more we understand and know and feel these things are real to us and can think about that little orange and white striped fish in the coral reef tank, the more sense it makes when I then hear on the news something about the coral reefs being endangered. Suddenly that means to me it's that little orange and white fish that's not just a character in the movie, but it's one that I saw at the OE.
Education seems to be the best place to put money, because even though we tried to do our best with this planet, you know, we didn't do as well as we should. We now need to have our early generation of kids understand the impact of what they do on their Earth, and we have to start young.
It's important to learn those things to save the environment and make you healthy and the world more healthy.
If we hope to continue as a species, we've got to stop destroying the environment around us. The first thing we have to do is educate ourselves about what that is.
The other day I was just walking around the neighborhood and all of a sudden it dawned on me, our kids have labeled all of the catch basins in and around the area that weren't labeled before, and that's made a huge difference. And that all started here after conversations about what happens when we're dumping things into our waterway that we're not supposed to. And so they've gone out and they've actually labeled those areas, and they've begun to get the community to understand we can't do this anymore.
New Bedford has this ray of light here that I think, energy-wise, touches so many lives every day.
It's just opened up a whole new world, which I never knew before. This whole new world of the ocean, this whole new world of how everything is interconnected. I knew it, somewhere in my psyche I did know that, but now I can see it. I can see how everything, all those puzzle pieces just come together, and it really is just wonderful.
I've become more interested in things. I think it's helped me to be a better teacher, just giving me more opportunities to learn in different ways myself and to share that with my students.
Before I got here, I was really moody and I never wanted to be around people, but since I've been here, I get along with everybody and I learn something new every day.
I like waking up to come here.
Up and ready to go.
Yep.
And we helped a lot of people. We didn't know we helped a lot of people, but we changed people's lives. I'm not as shy as I used to be and not as moody as I used to be. I speak publicly. If you knew me before this program, you would never thought I would speak publicly.
When I started here, I was really nervous and everything. Now I'm the one that I want to do stuff.
In so many ways, his anxieties have lessened. He feels like he has a purpose outside of just going to school. It's really helped giving him a sense of direction. It gives him motivation to get through the school day knowing that he can come here. It's given me hope. It really has. It's given me hope that he can make something of his life in an area where he's happy. You know, days can be long, but life is short, and you gotta like what you do. You gotta love what you do when you go. It helps. You gotta go out and make a living. You might as well do what you love, is what I tell my boys. And fortunately, here, this working waterfront and this community and this place has given him a place where he can succeed.
I like being that person that's teaching, and I actually learn stuff here instead that I feel like will actually be important in my life. Like on Thursdays, I wake up happy and I want to come here.